Drilling equipment delivery to the Silver Quarry in Zherbai Quarries. Hello there everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of SnowRunner here at OpenFed Gaming. I am the OpenFed. We are driving our Kenworth 963 in the second stage that is, of a This Is Not a Drill task, which is part of the CAS Minerals PLC contract. We got to pick up a drilling equipment container, which is basically the size of a oversized container, which takes up 4 cargo spots, and we got to bring it down to the bottom of the Silver Quarry, which is a ways to go. Now you're probably asking me, or wondering, not asking me, but wondering, why are we carrying a 4-slot cargo container with a 3-slot cargo bed truck? Well, I will tell you. The OpenFed is not the best in pulling trailers, and in the first stage of This Is Not a Drill task, we had to pull a trailer, a 5-slot cargo trailer, down to the bottom of the Silver Quarry with 5 pallets of service spare parts. So I already pulled the trailer down there once, and it's down at the bottom of the quarry right now because I didn't bring it out of there. And I didn't want to pull another trailer down there again because it was very, very difficult, and it took a while to get done. So I decided, what if we take the Kenworth and we put it on the back, hold on to it with the crane, drive it all the way to the bottom, put it on the trailer, pack it so that the cargo deployment or the acceptance blocks will accept it. And that way it might be a little bit easier than pulling a trailer all the way down there. So that's what we're attempting to do. Now, you cannot tie the trailer, the cargo down to the bed, obviously. That's why we're holding on to it with the crane. Now, throughout the video, I had to readjust the cargo on several different occasions, and I clipped all the adjustments. I clipped it out of the video because I wanted to save you from the the trouble of watching me diligently try and put that box back on half decent straight. So I clipped that out and passed right through that. Anyhow, when you're driving with a loose container like this, if you go a little bit extra slow, a little bit slower than normal, and try not to bounce the truck over big rocks or anything. If you don't bounce the truck, your cargo won't bounce. Basically, that's the end of it. If you bounce your truck too hard, the cargo can bounce right off. Now, you're not going to lose it because you still got the cable attached to it, but then you still got to stop. You got to pull it back up and put it back on the deck. It makes the journey a lot longer. So you're better off to go a little bit slower. And as you can see, we're going through this area, and we're getting rocked back and forth a little bit, but the cargo is staying where it is because I'm going quite slow through here, and because the tires are so big, they kind of roll over top of the boulders rather than bounce. But if you go a little bit faster, they will bounce, and then your cargo will move, which is why I had to stop many times to readjust the cargo to a little bit better spot on the deck. But that's okay. The point of the matter is that we got to get it from point A to point B. And right now we got to try and drag this down to the bottom of the Silver Quarry. And doing it with the Kenworth was better than doing it with a truck trying to pull the trailer down there. So we were at the airport where we picked up the big container, and we got to go all the way down, straight down towards the little city, and then do a little bypass through there and get to the fuel station and fuel up. Now we'll have more than enough fuel to finish our journey, even if we don't fuel up. But yeah, well, you know me, I like to stop in and make sure that I got a full tank, and then that way too, if you ever get to a point B and later on you're doing another job and you need some fuel and you've left your truck sitting there the same way that we've left the truck ahead of us, the FEM AT77 or 37AT, I can't remember the code number, but what I do know is that there's fuel in the tank and fuel on top of the roof. And if we needed some really badly, we could have stopped and got some from there. So I like to leave my trucks out onto the field. If I don't need them, there's no point in bringing them to the garage because you can do that at any time. So you're better off just leave them where they are when you finish your job. Now this little mud pit at the bottom, I've had some trouble with it, but I've recently figured out finally that if you stay a little bit to the left here, you seem to have a little bit better traction than if you go right through the middle of it. Right through the middle of it, you seem to stick a little bit more. Then we got this other here little detour. Now I've gone back and forth through here a few times delivering cargo with different types of cargo with different trucks, and never gone through here with an oversized drilling equipment cargo container like this though. So here again, you got quite a few boulders, but if you just take it a little bit easier. Now this is the one thing I don't like about carrying cargo on the back of the bed just with the crane. It always seems to slide back a little bit and seems to start lifting up on the back end. It doesn't look very good, but we're just going to leave it for the time being, because as long as we're moving, every foot that we move is a foot closer to the destination. So we're just going to keep going. Maybe we'll just keep going until we get to the fuel station and adjust everything there, fuel up, and get ready for the remaining part of the journey. Now, so far, it's been pretty easy. Now, we've had a couple of places there where, with those little detours, that get a little bit difficult at times, but it's been fairly decent going. There again, like I keep mentioning, you know, in SnowRunner, the best thing to do is just to slow down a little bit and take it easy. Kind of like slowing down and smelling the roses, you know? It's the type of game that you want to take your time at. You don't want to just rush through it, because when you're done, and then the game is over. But the whole point of the game is not the final part, it's the journey. And that's what SnowRunner, I guess, does for me. I enjoy the journey every time we drive through the city or complete another job. I don't try to rush to get the jobs done. But I do like getting them done, though. There's a real feeling of accomplishment when you finally get the finalized the job. Anyhow, we're making our little shortcut through that little city, and as you can see, it's really starting to pull up the back end of the container, so we got to fix that pretty quick here, because we can't do the rest of the drive like that. But the fuel station is just around the corner here, and there again, I'm not going to bore you with the endless amount of time that I spent trying to correct the position of this container in this journey, which is weird because I've done this many times before and I've never had quite this much trouble with the container moving on me all the time. So anyhow, we're at the gas station and the container is in a better spot. We fuel it up and change the time forward, and away we go. All right, boys, let's go. Now we're just going to go up the road a little ways, then we got that little detour right by the warehouse again. And there again, that's a nasty little detour when your cargo isn't strapped down, because your truck does a decent amount of tilting, so you don't want to lose your cargo if you're tilting from left to right or right to left, right? So when we get over here, we're just going to take it a little bit extra slow. That didn't sound really all that well. A little bit extra slow. Just going to go a little bit slower, and you get around it with no problem. Then we got a little bit further to go, and just up ahead, our top adventure is going to be over, because we're going to be going off-road and doing some four-wheeling. Maybe a little bit more difficult. But there again, you know, it's very doable if you just go at a little bit of a slower speed. 'Cause I've gone through here a little bit faster, and I've created problems for myself. So, you know, you're overshooting turns, or you're going just off the track just enough to make your truck flip, things like that. If you just take it a little bit easier, you can make these turns, and you pretty well stay on the track fairly decent, and you just kind of let it roll down by itself. We got it in the high range of the low gear, and that'll hold us back from going too fast. And pretty simple go around here. I mean, there's not too many problems with this part of the journey, although my cargo is starting to move again a little bit, as you can see, and that's all directly related to making any kind of a bounce or a rocking motion with the truck itself. So we're going to just fix it up again a little bit and hope that it stays in this spot a little bit longer this time. So you still got to get to the bottom of the quarry, but I always kind of in my head cut the job or the adventure into two, and this was the first part of the journey, which had its own difficulties. And now we're into the second part of the journey, because if anything happens from here on in, you know, there's a truck at the bottom of the silver quarry with a trailer behind it. So if anything worse comes to worst, I could bring that truck up, and even just right up ahead here, there's several places where you could turn it around so you could bring the container the rest of the way, if that's the case. But you wouldn't have to go all the way back to the airport. And it was a fairly good drive with the Kenworth. So, you know, this is the second part of the journey, and it poses a few different problems. Now, nothing that we haven't handled before, but also we've never driven anything quite this high, and when you come down here with a payload that's a little top heavy, it kind of makes the truck swing back and forth from side to side a little bit more. So you got to be aware of that, and you got to be a little bit more careful when you go through areas where the road is a little tilted at an angle from side to side, because that's where you're going to have a problem. And there's a couple like that. So I didn't like some of the other cargo I had to pull through there. I had to pull a construction rig semi-trailer through there, and I had a really hard time. And that's another reason why I didn't want to pull the trailer with this through it, because it's almost as big. So that's why I figured if I did it with the Kenworth, it might be a little bit easier. Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out. I would say that up to now, the journey has been a little bit easier than if I would have been pulling it on the back of the trailer. But we're not there yet. So I'll reserve judgment for when we get there to let you know whether I think it's easier this way or the other way. Now, it's really hard to see, but just in front of us, about 10 yards, it really tilts from right to left. And if you go through here a little bit too fast, you'll flip. Trust me. If you go a little bit slower like this, and then just power up there, you can make it. But you've got to go through there slow. I can't stress that enough. Because otherwise your truck with that kind of a top heavy load, any kind of a little bounce, he was already kind of bouncing on the one set of tires anyhow. But we got through there. That was one of the problem areas that I was talking about. Now there's another one coming up the road a little bit. it's really kind of hard to see, but off in the distance you can see a little bluish green blob there. That's the Plaid 450 who helped out the Avonhorn when he came through here with that trailer with the 5 service spare parts in the back. Anyhow, I'll let you know when we get a little bit closer. As we're getting over here, there's a little bit of a dip in the road here. Now, with all the rocks around, you think that they would have been able to fill this hole in a little bit. You know, even if they don't have dirt, just fill it in with rocks, but they just leave it the way it is. So we have to keep climbing down, climbing back up. Now we're going to have to fix that cargo container again, but up ahead where the Plaid's sitting is a 90-degree turn to the left. And you don't have enough room when you are pulling a trailer to get around that corner. And I used the truck with the shortest frame. And I still didn't have enough room. So I pulled the truck with the trailer as far as I could around the corner, and then I would push the rear end of the trailer with the Plaid 450, push it over so you could make it around the corner. Because as you'll see in a second, as we fix our cargo, move the time ahead, and you will see this corner is really tight and it's very, very narrow. And if your trailer isn't lined up, the back end will slide off the rocks. I've had that happen too. There we go. Now you can see it. And if you're too close to the left-hand side on those rocks, if you're too far over, those rocks will break away and then you'll fall down. Now, we're not quite far enough, but we're getting pretty close to the edge there. You'll see a few rocks break off here by the rear tire. Right about in, oh, boy, that's close. I thought some of them were breaking off, but I didn't see it that time. So anyhow, but that's okay. Now when you come down here, there's a little bit of a platform which is just wide enough for your truck right there. And you got to make sure you go over that far to the left, otherwise you really tilt your truck. You don't want to do that. Because there again, it would be way too high on the one side. And talking about tilting your truck from right to left, just up ahead here, and it's kind of hard to see from here, but there is a piece of rocky ledge that juts out, and it just kind of sits in the path of the track. And it looks like you could drive around the left-hand side of it, but if you do, and I've done it, I have fallen off the cliff. Ooh, see, the rocks are starting to break already. So you got to keep your right-hand side tires on top of that little ledge. And that really makes your truck tilt. And it feels like it's going to flip over right here. So you got to just, oh, we got lucky on that because it felt like it was going to fall. Oh, that was close. That was close. Now you see why I didn't want to do that with a trailer? That would have been a lot harder to negotiate with a trailer. So, whew, we made it through. Okay. That, I think, was probably the worst part of the journey. Although a few of the other ones were touch and go. But it was kind of cool. You could see the breaking rocks fall away if you get too close to the side. It's kind of cool. So we're almost at the bottom. And then we had another, well, we'll tell you when we get a little closer, but we had a little bit of a, ooh, we're almost losing our cargo there. I think we probably have to stop and fix that again. Like I said, I had to fix it quite a few times throughout the journey because you know, there is no getting away from bouncing the truck when you're driving through the quarry, I'll tell you that. Anyhow, we fixed it again, and we're almost at the bottom. But anyhow, like I was starting to say, when we get to the bottom here, I had a little bit of a cranial cramp that I think that now I've done for twice in a row. And I'm going to try and not forget to do that again the next time. Oh well. We know how well that's going to go. Now over this area here, if you go a little bit to the right and take a little bit more of a turn to this rock, it's a little bit easier to get through it. Now I still have to jockey it back once, but if you come in too straight, you can't take this turn, and then it really becomes an issue. You can't, well, I didn't have to jockey it either. That's the first time I went through there. Perfect. Okay. Anyhow, the cranial cramp that I have is that we're going to go down to the bottom, and the Avonhorn A15 is sitting there still with the flat deck when he delivered the 5 loads of service spare parts. So we're going to take this drilling equipment cargo container. We're going to put it on top of the trailer because the cargo has to be packed on a trailer or a truck to be able to deliver it. Now after I put it on the trailer, I gotta start laughing just thinking about it. I put it on the trailer and I figure I can just drive back, push the trailer back into the cargo acceptance box or the delivery box, I don't know what you want to call it, that yellow hashtag box, and then just deliver the payload. And that would work, but I can't back the trailer up far enough to get the truck into the box. And we got to remember, whenever you're delivering cargo, it's the truck that has to be in that acceptance box, not the trailer. So I back up the Avonhorn with the trailer, and I can't back up far enough because there's a building behind it. So rather than getting into the Kenworth and pulling him forward and then taking the Avonhorn and just go forward and then backwards again, because that would give me the room to turn the wheels a little bit. Instead of doing that, yeah, you guessed it, we just went for a drive around the bottom of the quarry and did a little circle, and we came back up to deliver this container. But then I always keep saying it's part of the game. It's enjoyable. You're driving a truck, and you're driving it in your living room, and it's absolutely the coolest game I've ever played. And they didn't have games like this when I was a kid. Anyhow, we finally got the container on there. We don't have to worry too much about straightening it out. So we're gonna restore the crane on the Kenworth. Let it go. There we go. Now we restore the crane on the Kenworth. And I just turn the engine off, and then I hop into the Avonhorn. I should have moved the Kenworth forward. I didn't do that. Anyhow, we're in the Avonhorn. We pack the cargo. We back it up. We try to turn the wheels here, which is where I should have realized I should have moved it over, but I was just so excited that I got the cargo container down here that I managed to get it done and finished, and then I can't deliver it. So what's going on? What? I cannot back the trailer up enough. Okay, let's go around for a little circle. Let's go for a drive around the bottom. And I guess to show you a little bit of what it looks like down here. We got a little fuel trailer over here that I've been using, but then every time I had to come down for a job, I refilled it and now it's full again. You know, all little things that can help you out on your journey. If you come down and you forget to refuel, you got the little trailer there and it's full of fuel. I think it's got like 900 liters in there. So, we come around the bottom here, and it's getting near the end of the day. We were getting a little tired. We want to get this guy delivered and see the end of this here particular task. Contract getting closer and closer to being done, and soon we'll be moving on to our next region. This, I'll tell you, the Zherbai Quarries, which is the only map in the Almaty region, the Almaty region, even though there's only one map, it's been a lot of work, but a lot of fun, a lot of different types of jobs, and I've really enjoyed this one. So, but we're not quite done yet. We still got a few more to go. We want to see these quarries back in action. I want to see what kind of a cutscene we're going to get when we do the final job. anyhow, I really enjoyed this one. I hope you got some tips and tricks out of it. Maybe you just tuned in and watched it just because you enjoyed the video, which is awesome. It's great. Come and watch them, enjoy them, share them, like them, subscribe if you don't want to miss out on any upcoming videos. We've got more coming up, and it's always a good time watching some of these videos. Anyhow, love to see you back at OpenFed Gaming again real soon. Until then, you've been driving in a Kenworth 963, delivering drilling equipment to the Silver Quarry with me, the OpenFed.